Howdy. Today's topic is don't let the sun go down on your anger. This is a quote from the Bible, Ephesians 4:26, which is the first time I've ever quoted the Bible. I would say, well, especially with a reference to its location. Depending on which Bible you read, this phrase will vary, but one of the best that pertains to today's talk is, before the sun sets, forgive and be still in your heart. Which takes us to present-day neuroscience. Present-day neuroscience is giving us a deeper understanding of these words of wisdom. They have observed, measured, and verified the neurochemical pathways by which short-term memory becomes long-term memory during sleep. Roughly translated, if you go to bed peeved, you're going to lay down tracks that last and sweep up and get you when you're not looking. These long-term, wait a minute. Okay, so these scientists have observed, measured, and verified these pathways, and these blessed geniuses have advanced our understanding of this ancient wisdom. One could rephrase it this way: before you sleep, be in the state that you want to be in, because in the future, that's the state you will have. To expand on this a little bit, it is the long-term memories that form our habit patterns. Many of these become so automatic that we don't notice them. It is these unconscious patterns that drive our daily experience. This is how our thoughts affect our reality, for better or worse. So before bedtime, become the person you want to be. An example would be forgiving everyone with peace in your heart. And every time you practice this, you will be one step closer to experiencing that peace. Because what you practice before sleep appears to become permanent. The idea is that this is not to substitute for any current practice that one would have, and something that you can do, whatever your practice is, whether you meditate or chant or read or do yoga. If you do this before you go to sleep, there's a good chance that the benefits that you gain in your practice will be laid down in long-term memory. Some evidence that I want to quote here is from a study at MIT in 2009. Deborah Halber of MIT's Picower Institute for Learning and Memory gave this report. In summary, it is widely believed that memories of events and spaces are stored briefly in the seahorse-shaped hippocampus. Seahorse-shaped, isn't that cool in your brain? They are stored there before they are consolidated in the neocortex for permanent storage. Experts have long suspected that part of this process occurs during sleep. Now it has been demonstrated that deep sleep is an essential part of this memory process. The lead author of the MIT study, Sosumi Tonagawa, states the sleeping brain must replay experiences like video clips before they are transformed into long-term memories. This happens during slow-wave sleep, also known as delta brainwave state or stage 4 sleep. Interestingly, other sources have observed that lack of stage 4 sleep is associated with memory loss, especially in older folks. My personal journey with this began in around 2005. I received 39 sessions of alpha wave neurofeedback training. And one of the premises of neurofeedback is that the brain seeks to have homeostasis, a normal state. But unfortunately, the experiences of life, the brain makes maladaptive choices on how it's going to get there. So depression, addiction, cutting is a popular thing that happens now. Anorexia, all these things, the brain is actually seeking a balanced, what it considers to be normal state. In neurofeedback, electrodes are attached to your head that measure your brain waves. And when I did the training, it was measuring for alpha, which is the calm and alert state associated with meditation. And when my brain was in alpha, the music that I liked, Nishka Shankar was playing, and this really cool changing geometry on a computer screen. When my brain was out of alpha, all that stopped. So when I started training, I was thinking, oh, I can will this. So I'm watching the screen and trying to will myself into being in a peaceful state, and nothing's happening. Nothing is happening. But over time, as the sessions went on, after about 10 sessions or so, my brain is watching itself. And there's no interpreter in between. It's just seeing what state it's in, and it starts increasingly producing alpha. I found that maybe by breathing and relaxing a little bit, I thought maybe that was helping, you know, like watching my breath and doing progressive relaxation. So I did that. And I do believe that probably had an influence. So I was really having an amazing experience, but my friends, what happened is I helped my friend buy this equipment, and a number of other friends were involved in him trying it out on them. We were all his guinea pigs. And I was having the most astounding experience with this. My other friends were like, oh yeah, it's cool, but it's not that great. So I thought, well, maybe I'm just having a placebo experience, you know, like, because I really want it to work. I helped them buy the equipment, and I was invested, right? Until I read My Stroke of Insight by Jill Bolte Taylor. She stroked, let's see, righty, lefty, I'm confusing now. She stroked her left hemisphere, which messed up her writing and speaking, right? And so she's a neurophysiologist. Here she is, she's had a stroke at 37, and she's messed up. So she's living with her mother, and the therapists are rehabbing her, teaching her to write, teaching her to speak. And she's tired. And the therapist was like, well, no, we're going to push through. And her mother says, absolutely not. Whenever she was fatigued, her mother made them go away and made her lay down and sleep. And what she discovered was that she was learning the material faster than the norm, right? And it wasn't till she got a lot of her functioning back that she realized, oh yeah, that's what my training says, right? That sleep lays down long-term memories from short-term, from practice trials, from rats running through mazes. You know, they can interrupt that sleep process, and the ones that had the sleep process interrupted didn't remember the maze, and the ones that did have the sleep process did remember the mazes. Okay. So, now I've totally lost my place. I need a nap. So, the short of my experience was I did that training, and about 5 years later, it all fell apart because the training gave me something I hadn't developed the foundation for in my own personal practice. I didn't meditate. I hadn't meditated every day. I didn't have a receptacle to deal with what the neurofeedback did for me. After the neurofeedback, I meditated 4 times a day. I could drop into a state like that. I was in the void. I had peace, and I was connected to everything. But it slowly went away, and what I noticed was that instead of meditating, I napped. I'd just fall asleep. So when I was meditating, I would go through progressive relaxation in my body. I would breathe, love the feet are loved. Love the calves are loved. Love the thighs are loved. I go through my whole body, and then if there was a hard spot or a bad thought or a tension, you know, I would just go and I would love that, and it would soothe, and then I would fall asleep. And when I woke up from that, I was good. But I slowly stopped doing that, and I slowly got more and more anxious. And I would get so anxious, beginning around 2012, that I would have to lay down because my speech sounded like this, and my walking was like this, and I'd go to move my glasses and I'd hit myself here because the stress level was so intense that my heart was beating out of my chest. And I didn't realize all the stuff I'm telling you today about sleep. So what did I do to relax? I would try to just go to sleep. Now, if I did the progressive relaxation before I went to sleep, I'd come out of my sleep rejuvenated. Both the sensory motor difficulties I was having would dissipate. I wouldn't have slurred speech or wonky walking, and I would feel fine. But if I went to sleep perseverating on what it was that I was worried about, I would wake up, the physical symptoms were still gone, the wonky walking and everything. But when I came up out of sleep, it was as though I went through this layer of anxiety, and my heart would be going, and as soon as I woke up out of sleep, right? And within 10 minutes or so, I'd be banging into things and getting angry and so on and so forth. And it wasn't really until I had went through this whole process of, you know, my parents passing away and all of that, where the stress level just went much higher, that I had to take a look at the process that I was going through. And it was like a miracle insight sometime early this year, early 2018, when I remembered what I read, that what you rehearse in your brain before you go to sleep gets laid down, right? And so the more stressed I was, the more I would have to lay down and neglect clearing, relaxing, establishing peace in my heart, right? And then I would wake up more anxious, more fried, to the point where I was like, my heart was going to jump out of my chest. So just kind of to summarize what has happened in the last, since July, is I've remembered now and again that when I'm stressed out, the first thing I have to do is relax. Then it's okay to sleep. Like I get rejuvenation from that. And to, especially before I go to bed at night, do this progressive relaxation that I do, right? Whatever you do is whatever you do, but what I found out is that I have been doing this hit or miss, right? I have not had a regular practice. I've been doing this hit or miss since July, and the symptoms that I was having, the neurological symptoms, are at least 70% reduced. And I can get back to peace more easily. And I want to share that. So, anybody has to say?